Right. Yep. Right. Yep. Yep. Right. I'll start. Now you're sitting comfortably. I will begin. Well, welcome to this meeting of the Biggleswade Town Council Finance and General Purposes Committee meeting for the 6th of January 2026. First of all, the Town Council meeting formalities. Following a reminder to meetings attendees that this is a formal meeting, I can advise that members of the public will be given an opportunity to speak during a public open session, but not at other times. The meeting is being filmed, and by being present, attendees are deemed to have agreed to be filmed and to the use of those images and sound recordings. I can advise that attendees should not disclose any personal information of individuals, as this would infringe the data protection rights of that individual. May I please ask everyone to mute their microphones when not speaking. First item on the agenda is apologies for absence. We have apology from Councillor Thomas and also apology from the Town Clerk, Mr. Tarrant. Item number 2 on the agenda is declarations of interest, and this is to receive the statutory declarations of interest from members in relation to A, disclosable pecuniary interest in any agenda item, and B, non-pecuniary interest in any agenda item. I think we all have the interest in the finances, so that we've got a dispensation. So I think if we can have that recorded that we've noted that. Are there any other disclosable interests, either pecuniary or non-pecuniary? Thank you. Item 3 is Chairman's announcements. I've already wished everyone a happy new year, so that'll be the extent of it. Item number 4 is the public open session. There are no members of the public physically present in the building. Are there any online, Asia? So that's the public open session dealt with. We have no invited speaker, which is item number 5. So we're already on item number 6, which is members' questions. Have any members got questions, please? There are no questions. So the next item is to receive the minutes of the meeting of this committee held on Tuesday, the 2nd of December 2025 in these offices. And now, for accuracy only, in the first instance, page 1, page 2, page 3, of unnumbered page 3. Is it your wish that I sign these as a true and correct record? It is. Thank you very much. Now, going back on the same basis with regard to matters arising from those minutes, on the first page of the minutes, any questions? On the second page? On the third page? Right, if there's no matters arising, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is items for consideration. The first one is item 9A, the budget precept for the next financial year 2026-27. Mr. Bohr and the Chief Executive Town Clerk have given a detailed report. Mr. Bohr, I think, wishes to make a couple of observations, but otherwise I will take it on the basis that members have all read all the papers and have read the report. But Mr. Bohr, I just think he's got a couple of observations he wishes to make.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be very, very brief. So if we compare the total expenditure and the total income to the December and the January figures, there is a difference of about 3,526, and I would like to explain what the difference is. So the first one is what water rates for one of the parks. So officers have received new information which was not available when we were writing the December paper. So that has led to an increase in the waste water on one of the recreational areas by 1,500. So that explains that's the reason for the increase anyway. And the other increase relates to a payroll. It's a payroll related, which I cannot go into detail. Officers received new information while writing the paper for tonight. So they've been movement. We've taken some figures out and included few. So that has resulted in an increase of the 2026 on the total payroll figure. So I think that's about it. But I welcome any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Bohr. Members, have you got any questions on the papers or indeed on the recommendations? Councillor Foster.
No specific comments about the papers as such, other than if I were a member of the public, I have the same issue that I've raised a number of times, in that we've got lots of papers available on SharePoint, but those aren't included in the papers as such. So that makes it a little bit more challenging. And I think particularly in light of the subject matter, I think this is probably an example of where we should be as transparent as possible and have the papers available within the pack. I appreciate that we've got SharePoint there for a reason, but I also think that there are elements here, for example, is Appendix I, Appendix J, K, etc., which are not in the public domain. And I think it's important that we are transparent about where there's challenges. And that's, for me, is something that we're still relying on putting documentation on SharePoint, which means it's not available for residents to see. And I don't think that's correct.
Councillor Foster, would you wish this to be noted by the officers and for the precept meeting for this information to be readily available for the precept meeting, so that because this is the preliminary meeting, and yes, I understand the comments, but to rectify it in the future, is that what you would wish to occur?
Yes, please. I think that's right.
Councillor Russell.
I'd like to second that motion. I mean, I personally don't like having things on SharePoint, and the officers are very kind and print everything out for me. And without that, I wouldn't be able to easily follow things through. So I fully agree with you.
I sympathise with your thoughts. I have to make the same request. So there's been a proposal, and that's been seconded. Any further comments on that particular point? Or in that case, Councillor Agnew.
Not that particular point, but the previous point that was raised by Mr. Bohr.
Could we deal with this point first, and we'll deal with the remainder, because this point is quite specific. So all those in favour of Councillor Foster's proposal? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. So there will be that arrangement for the full council precept meeting. Thank you for raising that, Councillor Foster. Councillor Agnew.
I would like to just come back to this slightly over 3,000 expenditure that appeared in the papers whilst we didn't know about it in the previous version of the papers. Maybe I'd like everybody's advice whether we would like to include a little explanatory note in the paperwork that would be prepared for the 20th of January. But equally, I'd like to understand that if between now and 20th of January, more expenditure, unexpected expenditure appears on the radars, how do we deal with this? Because currently, of course, that particular amount, small as it is, has increased the overall percent, which we initially discussed at 4.82. Yeah, and I think that is just not looking good.
Yep, that can be done. I think I will include that in the final paper on the 20th.
Councillor Russell.
It may not be looking good in some ways, but if it's stuff that we've got to pay, we've got to put it in the budget. And I think that's pretty obvious. It's not, I mean, we've already rejected in these papers quite a lot of growth items, which personally I would have liked to have seen in the budget, but understand the circumstances. But when it's something like wastewater and salaries, we just have to add it. So I think, yes, we need to be transparent, but we can't avoid it, and people have to understand that. And it's not that huge an increase in monetary terms for the individual households.
Thank you. The observation I'd make is that it's very difficult because it's a moving feast. The budget will change inevitably from day to day, even from the date of the precept. There will be things that will change. It's the changes in between without the understanding that I think is something that we need to know as members, not necessarily the minutiae of it, but just the understanding that there has been a change because there's been some additional information. It just makes it more transparent, which follows through on the point about the appendices. Any further comments, please, members? Councillor Foster.
Again, I'm not sure where what others' views are. Appendix B has an indicative precept assumption for 27, 28 and 28, 29. I mean, that's at best premature. I'm not sure what why that needs to be in the papers, but I appreciate it's there. Is there a requirement for it to be there, or is it something that we ask for, or is given that we're talking about things moving, there's a moving feast. We've got assumptions been put in place that really has no bearing on what might happen next year. So I don't know why it's there.
Mr. Ball.
Thank you very much. Yeah, there is a requirement to have a 3-year plan. So this is just to help members. Ideally, the decision we make today might have the impact it will have the next year and the next 2 financial years. Basically, it is enough financial reg to have always keep an eye on the 3-year projections all the time.
Councillor Foster.
I'm happy to be corrected on that matter. I don't recall actually seeing it previously, so I'm happy to be corrected and understand the reasons now. Given I've been a councillor for this long, you'd have thought I've realised. Never mind.
Councillor Russell.
Accepting what Mr. Bora said, should we not have another note, another footnote on this that says, obviously, we don't know what the government will do, and we don't know. I mean, there's something about salaries, but I think we need. Sorry, I think we need to be more explicit about the things that could happen that we have no control over, and things in the budget. What happens to inflation? What salary negotiation comes to an end? I mean, there are quite a lot of things, and I think it would be helpful, particularly in the view of what we were saying about transparency, to actually expand these notes to show the kinds of things that might happen that we have no control over.
Without necessarily wishing to have to take a formal vote on that, that seems to me to be entirely sensible that there is a bit more explanatory, such as there's a 3-year projection which we're required to do, but this is just it isn't binding on any of us at the moment. It's just say a projection is in accordance with the rules. Yes, so it's got to be there, and I think that what we have got now is a finance team that is actually producing far more information than we ever had before, and in a much better format. And I think we should be thankful for that, but that doesn't mean that we can't improve our presentation to the public as a whole, because it's important that there is that transparency. So I think that's been taken on board. Members, further comments, please. If members are quite sure they've got no further comments, we've got recommendations A, B, C and D before us. Would somebody make a proposal either to deal with them individually or en bloc, and see how we should go from there? Councillor Russell.
I'm assuming we're talking about the A, B, C and D on page 11.
Yes, I'm talking about the recommendation. Yes, I'm talking about the recommendations to this meeting, not the historic ones.
Well, I'm prepared to move all 4 of them, because we haven't had any quibbles about various things, just the presentation. So I would like to move that we approve all 4 recommendations.
Is that seconded? Any further comments before I put the vote? In that case, all those in favour, please signify. That's carried unanimously. Thank you very much, members. And thank you, Mr. Ball, and your team for the detailed information, because as you've shown, you're working on it continuously, and keeping us up to date is good, and hope you'll treat the observations made by members in the spirit that they've been made to make life easier for us all in the future. But could you just pass on the congratulations of the committee to yourself and your team?
Thank you very much. I will do.
Right, now it's items for information. Item number 10. It's set out clearly on there, I think, and this is basically the actions that are being taken in view of the departure of our town clerk at the end of the month. The necessarily paperwork, regulatory information is in hand so that there is a smooth transition rather than waiting to the last possible minute. I think is that a fair summary, please, gentlemen? Any further, is it your wish just we note that? Yep. So that's noted, thank you. moving on, we've got the public open session. We still have no members of the public physically here, and Asia advises me that there's no members of the public online. So we have just dealt with that part of the meeting, which then leaves us with the exempt items to go through, which we need to move the appropriate resolution that under the appropriate provisions of the Act, that we take this, go into exempt session from here on. That seems to be passed unanimously. So that we're now moving into exempt session. Asia, could you let me know when you're ready to